Most groups or all groups, there's always like a Harry Styles or, you know, in One Direction, or a Beyonce in Destiny's Child. You could argue that I am that of the Sidemen.
You're saying peace on camera right now.
Yeah, but I mentioned the Sidemen boys. I'm going to get more subscribers than Sidemen. And I'm also going to get more views than Sidemen.
People want to know, bro.
Yes.
You joining the Sidemen?
Am I joining the side?
KSI left the biggest YouTube group on the planet to chase something bigger. Within days, that something bigger turned out to be him sprinting around a Tesco popping balloons for clicks, and the entire internet was laughing. Not sympathy, not respect, laughter. Loud, merciless, group chat laughter, aimed at a man who walked away from the 7-man machine he spent over a decade building, the thing that turned a kid screaming at FIFA into a global brand to go full balloon speed run. From the greatest group YouTube has ever produced to lapping the self-checkout aisle, the replies did not hold back, and honestly, they had a point, and the jokes only sharpened from there. One reply mourned it like a genuine loss that he gave up the one thing money cannot buy, a real group of mates, for content a faceless intern could film on a lunch break. Others went even harder, pointing out he is closing in on 40 and now films himself legging it around a Tesco for the algorithm, which is a sentence that does numbers all by itself. The mockery got so unhinged that when news broke of a nationwide ban on social media for everyone under 16, people started joking that even the government had seen enough of the new content and decided to act. Obviously that was sarcasm stacked on sarcasm. Nobody thinks a balloon video triggered legislation, but it tells you exactly how savage the mood had gone.
Monday the 31st, and I am going to Soccer Aid, not to play, no. I'm going to support Ethan, Toby and Ginge, as well as, you know, everyone else there, charity, etc. I mean, you may have seen the news that has just been dropped. I didn't know that video was going out now, so I'm expecting a lot of people to just ask me.
When the internet starts pretending the state itself is reviewing your uploads, you are not having a great week. The whole thing started with a video dropped on the 31st of May, titled simply, "I'm leaving the Sidemen," and to his credit, KSI did not phone it in. He called it the hardest video he had ever had to make in his life, said he had been going back and forth on it for months, and laid out a completely reasonable explanation. Burnout, the brutal recording days, work-life balance, wanting more time with his family and his partner. Read that on paper, and there is nothing to argue with. People leave jobs for exactly that. If the story had ended there, it would have been a respectful goodbye and a few teary comments. The story did not end there, because here's the detail that flipped the entire mood. According to the online conversation around it, the rest of the Sidemen may not have known this was coming. Their own group statement opened with the line that the news came as a surprise to us. Surprise to them. The 6 lads he has reportedly called his brothers for more than 12 years apparently found out their group was losing its biggest member at roughly the same time the rest of us did by watching a YouTube upload, and when they filmed their own reaction afterward, it did not exactly read like a coordinated farewell tour. It read like 6 people processing live. And that single fact reframed everything. Think about the optics. You can dress a departure up however you like, but the moment your closest collaborators of more than a decade are reacting in real time, the warm farewell narrative quietly dies. There is no version of brothers, almost family, plotting their futures together that ends with the others learning the news from the same upload as a teenager in another country. Either the bond was not quite what the highlight reels sold, or the exit was handled in a way that prioritized the announcement over the people in it.
Most groups or all groups, there's always like a Harry Styles, or, you know, in One Direction, or a Beyonce in Destiny's Child. You could argue that I am that of the Sidemen.
Visually, outside looking in, when you think about the Sidemen, it will always be KSI.
But that's just because, you know, I've done...
Fans did the math on both options, and neither one flattered him. Then came the smallest possible detail that the internet, being the internet, immediately turned into a forensic exhibit. JJ replied to the Sidemen's statement with a single heart emoji. Then he deleted it. That is it. That is the whole crime scene. A heart, posted and unposted, and the timeline treated that deleted heart like a confession, because once people decide a story is suspicious, a man cannot so much as drop an emoji without it getting entered into evidence. Now, on its own, none of that breaks anyone. Friends drift, groups change, people get tired. The problem was what happened next, when the internet did what it does best and started digging up the receipts. Old clips began resurfacing, and according to critics online, the old KSI did not exactly back up the humble, burnt-out KSI doing the rounds now. In one resurfaced clip, KSI reportedly explains that every group has a superstar, and in the Sidemen, that superstar is him. He is the Harry Styles. He is the Beyonce. And the others, in this telling, are essentially the backup dancers. Now, look, confidence is part of the brand, but calling 6 men you have known for over a decade, the backup is a sentence that ages like milk in a heat wave, and the internet reheated it with glee. The framing wrote itself, a guy quietly recasting his closest friends as supporting cast in the JJ show, and then the clip that actually shifted the conversation from gossip into a full case file. In another resurfaced moment, KSI reportedly says he pulls more views than all of the Sidemen combined in a single month, that he needs to be bigger than Mr. Beast, and he name drops chasing iShow speed numbers in the same breath.
Hey, you're saying peace on camera right now.
Yeah, but I mentioned Sidemen boys. I'm gonna get more subscribers than Sidemen, and I'm also gonna get more views than Sidemen. So I've got more views than Sidemen in a month. So now I just need to get more subscribers. Yeah. And then it's just keep it up, and then it's like, all right, cool. I'm looking at speed now. I need to try and get more views than speed.
Yeah.
And I need to get more.
You're on smoke. You're on smoke.
Yeah. And then after speed, who's next?
Yeah.
Until I get to gym.
That is the line that made the burnout story wobble, because you cannot tell me you are stepping back to slow down and protect your peace, while old footage of you saying you need to outscale the 2 biggest names on the platform is trending right under it. One of those is a man who wants rest, the other is a man who wants a bigger scoreboard. Pick one, because the audience already did, and once you frame it as scoreboard over rest, the rest of his choices snap into focus. He no longer wanted to be one of 7 faces splitting the screen in a Sidemen Tinder video, a format that, fun as it is, has him sharing the spotlight 6 ways. He wanted the whole frame. He wanted the kind of solo reach you only associate with the absolute top of the platform, the Mr. Beast and iShow Speed tier, where the name on the channel is the only name that matters. That is a perfectly human ambition. The catch is that you cannot sell exhaustion and empire building in the same press release. One of them is a lie, and the audience tends to assume it is the convenient one. That is the contrast that gave this whole thing teeth. On one side, the cozy image fans bought into for years. Loyalty, chemistry, 7 mates messing about, in on every joke. On the other, critics now sketching a guy chasing scale, attention, and a solo identity big enough that the group had started to feel like a ceiling. Once that gap opens, every detail gets reread through the cynical lens. The surprise statement, the deleted heart, the backup dancer clip, the bigger than Mr. Beast clip. Individually, nothing. Stacked together, a narrative. And the narrative was simply that this was never really about being tired. It was about ambition, and the group was no longer big enough to hold it. Then the people around him started talking, which never helps. KSI's head of content posted a message about how the fastest way to grow now is not staying in the same circle, running the same collabs over and over, and that the real growth comes from building bridges into entirely different worlds. Football to cricket, the UK to India. Read it cold, and it is generic creator strategy talk. Read it the week your boss just left the same circle, running the same collabs, and critics treated it as the least subtle sub-tweet in recorded history. Whether that reading is fair stays an open question, the claims stay unverified, but timing is everything online, and the timing here was comedic. People were not going to let someone tied that closely to KSI's content strategy post a manifesto about escaping the group format and pretend it floated in from nowhere, and it did not stop with one person. A chunk of the backlash swung onto the wider team around JJ, with fans accusing certain figures of running what looked like a public victory lap, taking credit for shaping his success, while the group he came from was still cleaning up the fallout.
With YouTube, I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. I had to keep up with a persona that was just so taxing on me and my general well-being, to be honest. And I don't know, but in my opinion, YouTube has changed a lot. I don't believe it's about the you in YouTube anymore. Gone are the days where people would just make videos for fun. Now it's all about people making videos for monetary gain. YouTubers now have directors, editors, cameramen, and other things to help them out. Whereas before, it was only the YouTuber that would do that themselves. That essentially is the game right now. That is the YouTube game. That's how you remain relevant nowadays. And personally, I just don't want to be a part of that game anymore. From now on, I'm going to be making content that I want to put up. I just hated how YouTube became like a chore for me, having to always keep up with these bullshit trends and shit. I started making videos because that's what I wanted to do. Like from the beginning, it was just fun for me. I just enjoyed doing it. So I feel like I want to end doing videos that I want to do rather than doing videos that people...
The harsher comments got nasty, accusing those people of draining the originality out of JJ and rebuilding him into, in their words, a dollar store Mr. Beast. Not a measured critique by any stretch, and I am cutting out the cruder versions, but it captures the temperature. Fans were not just mad at the move, they were mad at the machinery they believed engineered it, and then the numbers came out, which is where these things always get genuinely brutal, because numbers do not care about your feelings. Commenters started stacking view counts and subscriber figures side by side to argue the solo run was underperforming, pointing to smaller creators supposedly outdrawing an ex-Sidemen member with a fraction of the audience, and circulating screenshots they claimed showed the gamble was not landing. One comment summed up the vibe perfectly. They said they never even cared about views until KSI announced he was going to smoke everyone, and then watched it start rough. There is nothing the internet enjoys more than a man calling the win out loud and bricking it off the rim, and they were courtside with popcorn. Now, in fairness, those numbers are exactly the kind of cherry-picked one good day versus one bad day comparisons people grab when they have already decided the story. A single upload underperforming is not a career obituary, but that is the trap of betting big on yourself out loud. Once you announce you are going solo to prove something, every single video stops being just a video. It becomes a scoreboard, a referendum, evidence for the prosecution or the defense, and the jury refreshes every 12 hours. But the sharpest cut, the one that actually stings, was the hypocrisy charge. The new direction looked heavily borrowed from the MrBeast playbook. Enormous titles, oversized numbers, thumbnails doing the heavy lifting while the video coasts behind them. Critics dismissed a lot of it as TikTok-brained content, where the headline is the product and the video is the afterthought, and that would just be a taste argument, except the internet found an old clip of an earlier, hungrier KSI openly trashing exactly that kind of creator, the ones he said were chasing money and clout over substance, and making the whole platform feel fake. So now you have a man on record condemning the cash grab content era, seemingly building a studio to mass produce it. The call, as they say, was coming from inside the house, and the internet picked up. That is the kind of contradiction the internet files away forever, because hypocrisy is the one charge that compounds. A bad video is forgotten by next week, but proof that a man publicly stood against the exact thing he now appears to be building, that gets bookmarked, screenshotted, and redeployed under every upload for years. It does not matter how true the old idealism was, or how much the platform itself changed underneath him. The clip exists, the new content exists, and the audience will happily hold both up side by side and let you explain the difference. Spoiler, nobody ever successfully explains the difference. It got more awkward when the Sidemen name started appearing in his own solo titles. To fans already side-eyeing the exit, that looked less like a fond callback, and more like leaning on the brand he just walked out on to juice his numbers. Leave the group, then keep the group in the thumbnail when it is convenient, people noticed. And for a lot of critics, the videos were never even the main charge. They pointed at the empire. KSI co-founded Prime, the hydration drink that went from genuine playground phenomenon to, in the mocking version, bottles quietly gathering dust on shelves once the hype cooled. Then came Lunchly, launched alongside MrBeast and Logan Paul, which pulled its own wave of heat when creators including Dan TDM and Jacksepticeye publicly pushed back, and online discussions accused the brand of selling questionable products to a very young audience. Those allegations stay disputed, to be clear, but in the eyes of critics it all rhymed. A pattern of building businesses pointed squarely at kids' wallets. Stacked next to the content shift, the burnout exit stopped reading like a tired man stepping back and started reading like the next move in a much more polished, much more monetized phase of the brand. That is the thing that actually makes this dangerous for him, and it is bigger than any single bad day of views. When an audience decides there is a gap between who you used to be and who you are now, Every upload gets filtered through suspicion, supporters still see ambition, and a guy evolving into new lanes, and that is a completely valid read, but critics see calculation, polish, and distance from the version of JJ they fell for in the first place, which was, by most accounts, the most genuine one. 7 friends, no script, nobody overthinking it. That is the version this whole saga is accused of leaving behind, and that is why it hit a nerve a few rude memes never could. It turned into a referendum on authenticity itself, then a podcast clip threw petrol on it. In it, some viewers felt KSI came across as genuinely convinced he had already passed ISO speed, while the people sitting around him seemed visibly caught off guard, doing the polite nodding you do when a friend says something you would never have said out loud.
Me or Speed?
Speed, mate.
You're
Sorry.
mental, bro.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Speed.
you're
I'm sorry.
mental.
I'm sorry.
You're
I'm sorry.
just living in this bubble.
No, just what are you on about? I'm sorry, mate. Like,
Who is more famous as a person, not name?
Speed.
No,
I'm saying Speed.
no. Amazon Prime.
Speed is so much more mainstream. Speed is so much more
You're
mainstream.
mental.
The Chinese government.
Amazon Prime, though.
The Chinese government thanked him for coming to their country.
In our little social media bubble, yes.
The Chinese government is not in our social media bubble.
Critics seized on it as the perfect snapshot of the whole. Problem: a growing gap between how KSI sees himself and how the audience currently sees him. Self-image outrunning the scoreboard. So then the conversation pivoted to the obvious question, which is who replaces him. And fans floated his brother Deji stepping into the empty seat, an idea that at first glance a lot of people did not totally hate, given the family history and the built-in storyline. But the suggestion ran straight into a wall because critics immediately dredged up an old clip of Deji's they considered a serious problem, and the second that landed, the mood curdled. What started as a fun fantasy draft debate turned into a loyalty test, with people weighing image and old baggage instead of vibes and chemistry, and that is the tell for how toxic the whole situation had gotten.
You want to know, bro?
Yes.
You joining the Sidemen?
Am I joining the Sidemen? Alright, so I can't lie, we're in talks right now.
No.
We're in deadass, we're in talks. We're in talks.
Say you swear to God.
Like me and the Sidemen, we sat down at the round table and we we got all our armor out and everything. We're just like there being like,
Contracts being signed?
Like, what, yeah, so there was papers and everything. And then, and Josh was like, Deji, good sir, we would like you to join the Men of Side. And I was there like, ooh.
Oh my God, you have a ritual. It's a ritual.
No, close. So when I do join, they get a knife and they like do the knife thing.
All because you're Londonese.
Yeah. Because it can't be a sword, it has to be a knife. Like, like mandem and that.
Even the lighthearted who fills the gap game could not stay light for more than a few minutes before someone pulled up a clip and ruined the room. So where does this actually leave everyone once the dust settles? For KSI, the direction looks pretty locked in. Every sign points to him leaning further into the big, high-concept, packaged-for-scale formula, and he has already picked up a mainstream judging gig that fits that lane perfectly. And when you lay out everything bolted to his name, Prime, Lunchley, Misfits Boxing, the music career, an actual football club, you can see why the Sidemen chair might genuinely feel small to him now. The man built an empire. To him, sitting in a group video filming the Tinder series for the 100th time may simply not move the needle anymore. Whether the audience respects how he is cashing that empire in is a different conversation, but the ambition is not hard to understand. And the Sidemen, they will almost certainly be completely fine. 6 members, over a decade of chemistry, plus the brands, the formats, the sold-out live events, the entire machine that made them iconic in the first place. They have already made clear they are carrying on, and there is a slightly savage undercurrent in the fan reaction worth naming. A real chunk of people argued certain Sidemen videos actually breathe better without one guy hogging the runtime and steering himself into the center of every frame. That is a brutal thing to say about your departing superstar, that the group might be lighter on its feet without him, but it is the kind of thing people say out loud only once the spell breaks. There is also a quiet irony nobody around him seems to be naming. The entire pitch of going solo was scale, getting bigger, escaping the ceiling, but the Sidemen's ceiling was never really a ceiling. It was a safety net inside the group. A mid-video still landed because 6 other people carried it, and the brand did the rest. Out on his own, every miss is his miss. fully, with his face on the thumbnail and his name on the L. He traded a system that protected him on his worst days for a spotlight that exposes him on every single one. That is not a small swap, and the early returns suggest he may have underestimated exactly how much the group was doing for him the whole time. And that is what this whole mess really comes down to. Not the views, not the thumbnails, not who outnumbered whom on a Tuesday. It is the spell breaking. For years, the audience saw 7 mates having a laugh. Now a loud part of that same audience is looking at the exit, the resurfaced clips, the empire, the strategy tweets, and quietly asking whether the guy they thought was the most genuine of the bunch was building something much more calculated the entire time. He may walk this off and win the bet outright. He has done it before, but for the first time in a long time, KSI is not arguing about whether his videos are good. He is arguing about whether anyone still believes him.